Hello, lovely people, and welcome to Thursday. The week is almost gone already. Where is it going? So, what did I do yesterday? I sat down and I watched the video on sound effects design, and it was really good. It reinforced a lot of the things that had come out of the consults by seeing them done practically and seeing how you could start from very mundane sound effects and create something by layering that was so much more than the sum of its parts. It also points at sort of tool sets that I don't have access to and don't really want to bridge out into, sound effects design tools, because my limit is kind of stuff that I can use to post-process dialogue to fix up dialogue. So for example, I use RX Isotope, or Isotope RX rather, and I use Isotope Nectar as well. But that's kind of the limit for me. But it was really interesting. It really helped in terms of how you use certain techniques to build a mix together. So, what am I doing today? As he pauses to look down at his list of things, I'm still working on a notification client to trigger a notification for Alexa. It's taken a while to wrap my head around how notifications work with Alexa, because there were a couple of APIs rather. There were a couple of APIs, and the core functionality has changed over time. So now notifications are quite limited. But I'm hoping to close out today getting a basic notification working, because if you're doing any kind of narrative that's fragmented over time and you want to get the user's attention, then you need to be able to actually send out a notification saying, "Hey, I'm here, I'm ready." So hopefully I'll close that out today. I also found yesterday an interesting way that you can send notifications into an Alexa skill that can then be responded to, which is something that solves another part of a problem going forward, which is how do you notify Alexa if you have some external tool of some sort? How do you notify Alexa that something has happened in that tool, that a user, for example, has made a choice based on information that's been presented to them? So I want to dig into that, but it's probably not going to be inside the scope of this week. I also want to have a look at APL, the presentation language, in a little bit more detail, because I think one thing I've potentially overlooked is the possibility that even if you have what I have, which is a basic Echo Dot, I've very deliberately started with the most basic Alexa experience in order to understand the form factor. It's the most widely adopted in the market. Like you can't assume that folks have a presentation layer in front of them, or as part of the device rather. But one thing I think I may have overlooked is the possibility that even if you have one of those, the Alexa app that you can use on your iPad or your phone or whatever can still present a presentation layer to you while you're interacting with the device. It's a suspicion. It's by no means confirmed, but it'd be interesting, because that means that would provide an in-house way, an easier sort of inside the tool way of being able to provide a richer presentation tier to everyone, rather than looking at developing external websites, which is something that I'm considering at the moment. I realized I haven't put together a post wrapping up external channels of information, and I'm thinking that next week I am actually going to. I've been talking about using that chip, and I think after this week I'm going to look at that. So that's me for today. I also have some recording to do for a voiceover gig. That's the second character out of that, so I'll get that done. Looking at the list again. Verbalize study. Verbalize has been so good. There's been this really interesting crossover in terms of the things that I'm considering at the moment with epistolary narrative, some of the stuff that's come out of the consult this week with Alexander Swords, and what's the third part of that? Verbalize, epistolary narrative, and the consult have kind of come together with this convergence of the idea of don't do all the work on behalf of the user, or on the reader, the person who's consuming your thing. And I think that's a really interesting point. Something to consider. The other thing, and it also ties into very much, after going back over and rereading Art of Game Design, I'm noticing now it talks a lot about your characters aren't real people. Your world isn't a real thing. It's a roller coaster ride that is intended to provide an experience. And there is such a strong crossover. There is such a strong I'm going to use the word synergy, but only because Forest Paths has primed my brain for it. There's such a strong synergy between that idea in novels and that idea in games, that the idea is you're just providing an experience. That's the focus. When I say just, I don't mean that in a reductive sense at all. I mean that it's not meant to be a realistic simulation. It's like J. Michael Straczynski was asked one time by a viewer or a fan at a convention, how fast does a Star Fury travel? And he said, and it's such a great response, he said it travels at the speed of plot. It's there when it needs to be. How much do we know about these things? The Star Furies are the little fighters in Babylon 5. I'm doing a rewatch of that at the moment, so it's kind of at the top of my brain. What do we know about them? Enough that is significant and consistent to support the story, to be cool, to be useful to the kind of narratives that we want to tell. And that's that. So yeah, it's been really good to have that reminder as well. Other than that, I'm going to do some exercise today. I'm going to bust out my mobility workout this afternoon. Looking forward to that, and I'll be doing a delayed stream tonight. So yeah, so that's my day, full day. I better get into it, and I will catch you Friday for the end of the week. I hope that your week is treating you well. I hope you're well and safe, and I look forward to talking to you soon. See you then.